Hello, hello, Alisa Meredith here, and we are talking about marketing reimagined. A synopsis and highlights from Mark Schaefer's The Uprising, and I am joined by Trona
Hi,
Freeman.
everybody.
Hello. Trona has been on The Uprising as well, and she agreed to come here and share some of her favorite moments and the things she got from it. So, if you are watching either live or on the replay, welcome. Let us know where you are watching from and what questions you might have. We heard from people like Scott Guthrie and Chris Ducker, and who else did we have? We had Evelyn Starr.
Jola Burnett as well, who was phenomenal. And obviously Mark Schaefer as well. And Minter Dial.
Yeah, he was great. And good evening to Brian.
Hi, Brian.
And Jeff is here. Hello. So I promised Trona she could go first. All right, what's your first point that you wanted to share?
It was every time. This is now my third time doing this. So every time that I come away from it, it takes a while for everything to sink in. It's just so. I think one of the last discussions that we were having there in the Uprising, just a general chat, was just how what we learn and talk about there shapes your whole thinking about marketing. So I think I don't even know where to start. It's just so much. But I think one of the first people that spoke was Jola Burnett, and she kind of did this whole wild ride through the future of marketing. But actually, a lot of it is already taking place in China with these live shopping experiences, which we don't have in the UK. Did it have them in the US?
It's in beta on Facebook, Instagram, and some other places, Amazon too. I haven't had a chance to use it as a marketer or actually as a buyer for that matter. It's pretty new.
That sounds really quite exciting. I mean, and then Scott Guthrie said that of all the people in China who uses the internet, 2/3 of those people have bought through this live shopping experience. So it's huge, and we're not. Why are we not doing it here? I mean, we have QVC, but I don't think that's really comparable to this whole shopping experience.
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of the analog version of it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And Jeff is here. The peanut gallery. Surprised that I let Trona have the first word. Of course. And Phoebe Moon, you got this. I know there's such a lot to talk about. Okay. One of the things I picked up, which I think will be relevant to us here, are the success factors of the marketers of the future. And I think this was Mark Schaefer, actually. And it was be alert, be humble, and go down rabbit holes.
Yep.
So being alert is things like, okay, we're noticing that people are not going back to work. It means there's going to be a lot of empty office space. What can we do with that? How can we help those people? Being humble, knowing you don't know everything, learn from people like the Uprising, and go down rabbit holes. That's my favorite. I love a good rabbit hole. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, currently I'm right down TikTok, all the kind of rabbit holes down TikTok. And I think that really pulls so much together from what we spoke about as well. I mean, one of the reasons sort of marketing is so successful on TikTok is because they're being relevant and they're providing this authentic experience with them, not just influencers, but the people who are connecting with them. I mean, the comment section on TikTok is just as important. Maybe not as important as the TikTok itself. There's the whole community forms under there, and this is what, as marketers, we want to happen. We want to provide value, relevance, and create a community. Be of the community, not just sort of poking our heads in when we want to sell something to them.
That's right.
Real, creating relations with them. So I think that's just. I mean, I think probably TikTok would probably be doing this live shopping experience before other people. I mean, they're just above and beyond everybody else at the moment.
They are. They move very quickly.
Yeah.
There was something we learned this afternoon that from Scott Guthrie about how when you pair influencer marketing, well, you use influencer marketing, it will elevate the success of your marketing across platforms. So one of the examples was when people see an influencer campaign or influencer marketing on TikTok, they are much more likely to respond when they see it on Instagram. And it was a similar thing with TV and with YouTube. You know, when they see these influencer campaigns, that next touch point is that much more powerful.
Yeah.
We talked we had small groups after these sessions, and we would discuss. And one of the things we were thinking about is why was TikTok first? Was that just a study they did, or is there something about TikTok that has that impact of, you know, making your other marketing rise? And I think we decided it probably was TikTok specific because their discovery is so good. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think the whole nature of the platform, it's very personalized. I mean, like you said, the discovery is so good. And then I think just by the nature that it's video and how a lot of the people that are doing it really well exploit using that video really well. They use it, like they come up close to it, or they're doing like this kind of thing, and they know these are intentional tactics, or they are pulling away instead of just sitting. You know, there's all sorts of tactics that they're using there, and that's why things like transitions and that are so popular, because it catches you right away. And then there's that feeling of intimacy, I think. So when you are then going over to Instagram, which is often a still image, you have that memory of maybe being close to them in TikTok. So yeah, definitely. And I've experienced that, you know, from seeing somebody in TikTok who I wasn't aware of on Instagram, and then more likely to follow them on Instagram after seeing them doing their thing on TikTok. So it works.
Absolutely. Jeff wants to know if I talk much about micro or nano influencers. I think businesses are going to be using them more as they see the value. Yeah, there was some talk about that for sure. That was the last talk of the day was about influencers, and we got a little stuck on one thing, and I'll tell you what it is in a minute, or because if I do it now, you won't think about anything else. But in Finland, they actually declared influencers to be essential workers. That is astounding to me. Yeah. Hi, Jana. Hi. Yeah.
That was extraordinary.
Yeah.
But the reason is so good as well, that they said that these influencers are able to break through where the old media wasn't able to. So if they needed to get some sort of important message across, they could use influencers to do it. So it wasn't about like selling like the latest perfume or whatever. It was maybe about getting health information across or that type of thing. So that's why, you know, they've did this, which is absolutely fascinating.
I absolutely agree. And that was part of the point. Like the realm of influence has absolutely grown. Yeah. So essential for what? Essential workers, like grocery store workers, frontline healthcare workers. They were officially declared, influencers were declared essential. That's wild. Okay. There's a 10-year-old YouTuber you might know who earned $26 million on YouTube. This is insane. And this is why all the kids want to be a YouTube influencer. Now, how many of them are going to make it? The interesting thing to me was kind of old school influencer with George Foreman Grill, right? I have one of those. Anybody else have one? Back in the 90s, in his heyday, he was making $4 million a month.
It's extraordinary.
Right. Do you think he ever built a grill? No. He just put his name and his face on it. Yeah. And it's just grown from there. Do you want to bring up that thing that kind of blew all of our minds, Trona?
The what was she called again?
Michaela.
Michaela.
Yeah.
It's just, I've only sort of seen little bits here and there about her. I've just not paid that much attention. But this idea of these sort of artificial influencers, you know, they're just completely made up. And how much money was she making? Like an extraordinary amount.
I don't think I caught that.
I think she made 50 million last year, something like that. But she works with Chanel.
And she is not a real person.
Oh.
She is a virtual influencer. Yeah, and apparently it's a person with a CGI skin, which I didn't know. I thought it was all completely computer generated, but that will be next. Yeah, Jana saying her son watches a lot of kids doing reviews of movies. Yeah, I think we all do. Kids trust other kids. We tend to trust people we relate to. So here's my question for all of you regarding virtual influencers. There's some argument that they should not have to have a disclosure because they're not real people. I want to hear, like, what's your reaction? I just about screamed when I heard that. like, if anyone needs a disclosure, it's fake people. And some of the points brought up were like, if you're not a real person, how could you have tried a product or used a product? Like, how are we going to trust that? Yeah. Okay.
But then again, a lot of the real influencers don't use the product either. But I think people can sniff that out much better now than maybe like when it was brand new. Because you see some influencers just going from one product to the next, to the next, to the next.
But at least they are physically capable of using it.
Yes.
Maybe they could, but computer Michaela cannot. Jeff is confessing here that his beard is all CGI and he's next going to go completely virtual. I would like to see that, please. But Brian doesn't think you could fake that beard and it needs its own show. It does. I wonder what that show would be about. It would probably be live shopping show for beard oil and razors and things. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about no longer being Switzerland. Well, so what does that mean? Our influencers need to share our values, right? And for me, that was a thread that was very important through all the discussions, was this idea of standing for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you've got to do it right. I mean, take Pepsi, for example, it was one of the, was it Kate? No, it wouldn't be Kate. What, it was one of the Jennas or the Kardashian girls. It was during, I think it was it the first Black Lives Matter? And so she was handing the can of Pepsi to like the line of people rioting, and Pepsi had to withdraw it. It really damaged them quite badly. So it just wasn't the thing to do. I mean,
yeah. No, it was not.
Somebody so sort of jumping on this fake, stick. It's just
did you know Evelyn Starr before this?
Yeah, I had met her at, I think, the previous ones as well. Yeah.
Okay. She was amazing to me.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Yeah, her kind of angle on a lot of things is about marketers and companies as adolescents. And I'm kind of butchering this, so please correct me on whatever needs to be. But she talked about how brands are having an identity crisis because we want to keep our identity, but we don't want to be excluded. There's so much FOMO on a personal level, on a business level, and it's really hampering businesses' ability to stand for something. We have to decide who we are, how we want to be perceived, and then figure out if we've hit the mark, right? So simple things like asking a bunch of our customers, give me 2 or 3 words that describe my business, to see if you're doing a good job of that, or if you need to do something different.
Yeah, I think it's really important because when you're in a business of any size, whether you're doing it yourself or you're in a bigger business, if you haven't touched in with your values, I mean, it can be easy just to be swayed all over the place, and then you don't really stand for anything. So
sorry. Jeff says, I understand standing for something, but aren't people tired of all the polarizing that happens online? When will people be exhausted by it all? I think we are. kind of exhausted. What do you think, Trona?
Yeah, I think it comes back to that thing of whether, you don't always have to have an opinion on everything. It's picking and choosing where, if your value as a brand or business, where your values align with, instead of just randomly picking, the latest, trend it's in.
Yeah.
It's just damaging rather than saying, well, this is what we stand for.
Yeah, I think there was a really good example given that was like, who could argue with this stand, right? It was a lingerie company, and they were getting their products with so much packaging. And they took videos of unboxing and they sent it to the manufacturers and they said, look, if you don't cut down on the waste in your packaging, we're not going to buy from you anymore. And they won awards for that. And if you go on their website, that is what they stand for. And, that's really not very controversial.
But it's relevant, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the key there, that it's something relevant that they've went with.
Yep. Yeah. There was another thing in kind of the teenager analogy of marketing, and it was hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Yeah. And that's brilliant because it's so easy. It's especially like on Instagram or that, especially if you're like a small business and then you start chasing likes or, that all those vanity metrics, but you're not connecting with the right people. You're never really going to convert. You're never going to be able to create a sustainable business. So you have to really know who you're talking to. And it doesn't have to be everybody. It just has to be a small, engaged audience that are hopefully going to then say, oh, you should go to them, spread that word of mouth.
Yeah. And a lot of people kind of admitted having spent too much time with the wrong crowd, in that they were targeting people who were not decision makers.
Yeah.
So it's even beyond like who wants to listen. It's who can actually buy from you. Another one I think we can probably all relate to is working with customers who are rude, who renegotiate contracts, and who we should have said no to in the first place. I think I'm guessing that is a lesson every business owner has to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
How about you?
Yeah. It's a rite of passage, Stuart. We all have to go through it, and we all have to know how to deal with it, because customer retention and keeping the right customers happy is what's really going to grow your business. And if you're, if something's wrong in your marketing or you're speaking to the wrong people, you're going to get, people whose values or whatever don't fit right with what you're doing. And then this kind of thing happens. So yeah, it's all about getting your values and your voice and your marketing right.
Yeah, completely agree.
That will lessen, but I think it's just part and parcel of it occasionally.
Yeah. Yeah. And then teenagers and everyone else gets FOMO, right? So being afraid to kind of limit your focus because you're afraid of missing out on opportunities when it's going to work completely the opposite way.
Yeah. It's a really important one. I think I'm actually kind of at that bit in my business as well, where I'm thinking about, do I need to sort of niche down more instead of thinking about going for everything else? But it's scary when you've got like, oh, you need to be on TikTok, you need to be on that. But finding that channel that fits right with you, and the niche that you're good at, and again your values. I mean, it all really comes back to finding out what your values are, isn't it? And your speciality.
Your purpose. I think you got a call out from Evelyn. I think it was Evelyn, because your purpose was so clear on your website, and I'm gonna get it. Do you know what it is off the top of your head?
It is about how I help small businesses get visible and grow online.
And I think you mentioned through SEO.
Yeah.
Like especially, right?
I don't mention that in
You didn't. Okay.
I don't mention that in it, because then I'm linking that to something that maybe I would stop doing. So it might change. So I don't link it to Pinterest and SEO. That comes a little bit further down.
Oh, okay.
So if my focus changed, I mean, that main thing probably will not change, that I'm going to help businesses grow. but maybe the conduit that I do it through might change as I grow my business as well.
That makes a lot of sense. And then we've all been teenagers. We all know teenagers. And sometimes teenagers can be a little bit self-centered. And brands can be that way too. And when they are, they end up having to explain themselves over and over again. And they end up telling people how wrong they are over and over again. Which
that
it's
was
like
a really
so
good
true.
one.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Then do you remember she listed Facebook's values?
Yeah.
Do anybody want to guess what they are? Because the first three are like, oh yeah, I can see that. It's be bold, focus on impact, move fast. Yes. And then it's be open and build social value, which is like, well, maybe they just haven't gotten to those yet. I don't know.
Yeah, that is such an afterthought. It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
It sure does. Yeah. And a great point too is like, if you don't have your brand values that well articulated, and it doesn't matter who you are, like I need to go do that. Trona, if you haven't done that, like you need to go to everyone listening needs to do this, because if you don't, each person involved in your marketing, in your business, and anything you do is going to substitute their values for your brand values. And that's going to be a very bad experience. Well, not necessarily bad, but it's not going to reinforce your brand and the values that you hold.
Yeah. It's your north star, isn't it? It's going to guide you. It'll keep you right. And I'm actually going to do that because I think I have little bits, here and there, which would be about my values. But I don't have anything specifically written, down where it's really clear. And I think I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah. Another thing that became really clear to me is that, big surprise, we marketers are not doing our marketing really well. So we like the examples we have are all for my client, I'm doing this, or for my company, I'm doing this. And there are several people who said, I've actually hired a marketing consultant to do this for me.
Yeah.
Because it is really hard to do this for yourself.
It is. I know from myself that I'm not doing anywhere near enough amount of marketing for myself that I do for other people. Because, well, you're also just tired from doing it for other people. You just want a little bit of a break. But you're so close to your own business sometimes that you can't see, and you need people to help bring that out for you. A sounding board. I mean, that kept on coming up, that you need a sounding board to help you. And I really think that's so important, because I speak to lots and lots and lots of people, and that's what they say. They just say, I can do this for somebody else, but when it comes to my own marketing, I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, absolutely. When Minter Dial was talking, he was great. He was talking about the future of branding. And he talked about how generally in a company, like at first, all eyes are on the shareholders and making them happy. And then it goes to customers. And then it goes to employees. But if your employees aren't your biggest fan, then like nothing else is really going to work.
Yep. I think that's really brilliant as well. And if you don't have, a lot of employees or anything like that, you could also use the same thing as your customers. Get them to be, your super fans. Get them to spread the word for you. So it's the same sort of thing. But getting your employees to do all the marketing in a sort of really natural, authentic way is going to just do wonders for your business and marketing.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things he had us ask ourselves is, how would the world be worse off if you didn't exist? I like that, because I think sometimes as business owners, we're kind of humble and we're like, don't kind of want to say, how do we make the world a better place? But this one's, how would it be worse off if you don't exist? If you guys can, who are watching or in the comments, if you can think of, what would your answer be?
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? I mean, it gets right down deep into your value. I think Mark Schaefer has something similar where he's like, only I or only we can do, And you really have to think about it, because if I'm, you know, if I'm saying, well, only I can do marketing,
it's just not true. All right.
So does everybody, all the other marketers do that, you know. So really, what differentiates me from the other people? So really getting down to, yeah, and I think that can be hard for a lot of people. So that's why they just get somebody else to help them with that as well. Yeah,
right.
It's uncomfortable.
It is uncomfortable, but I think it's like when you have to write your own bio, if you're going on podcasts or something, oh, it's so painful. But if you ask somebody, just ask a friend, like, you don't have to hire someone to do this. Like, what is my only I?
Yeah. Or your customers, you know, go to your customer. Why do you keep coming back to me? Or why did you come to me in the first place?
Yeah.
Oh, Phoebe Moon answer you.
Sorry. Phoebe Moon has a great answer to that. How would the world be worse off if you didn't exist? She said her kids would be a bit nonplussed. Oh. Now, if you'd never existed, they wouldn't be here anyway. So
yeah.
Good answer, though. Good answer. Do you remember what the tattoo test was?
Yep. So that was really good as well. Because you do see people, you know, with brand tattoos. So that the whole idea was, do you have a brand that somebody would tattoo on their skin, you know, and they would have it forever? You know, can you pass that as a brand test? I mean, you see people with Nike and all sorts. So I think also actually probably it would be dependent on the person, because somebody could just easily get a tattoo. It doesn't bother them. They've got tattoos everywhere. So
yeah,
I think Mark Schaefer also said the sticker on the laptop. You know, would you put your sticker on? You know, it's would you be the fan? You know, would you wear the T-shirt? Would you, you know, you buy the mug?
Yeah. And with your employees, would you keep the tattoo even if you didn't work there anymore?
Yep.
Right. Another thing with employees is like when you're reading the company mission statement, are people saying yes, yes, or are they rolling their eyes? Yeah. Okay. All right. We have just a couple minutes more. If you have any specific questions about what we talked about this last 3 days that were pretty intense, if you're interested, it's called the Uprising. There will be a live one in April. I think you said there was one spot left, maybe.
I think there was 10. I think it was 2/3. I think you said, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it was definitely. I'm glad it was online, because I probably couldn't afford to go to the real one, but and not the in-person one. But I think for me, one of the things that followed through the whole thing was about like culture is in, brand is out.
Yep. Yeah.
It's so true. And like being more human is something, it sounds so, I don't know, like Ben said before, but that's the key.
It is, you know, it really matters. People want a human face to the brand, especially if they're a big brand, you know, because it just, the humanity can easily be lost there. So this is where you want, you know, your employees to be the culture, you know, the spokesperson for your brand.
Yeah.
It's more than ever, I think that's important. And again, you see that on TikTok. That's true. It's the whole culture of the influencer and the brand connection. It's
And one of the things that Mark specifically talked about a lot was a reset with the whole pandemic. It changed so many things. One of them is that the personal and the professional really kind of started to meld together. So that makes that personal human thing even more important, because that's what we're seeing even at work.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you get some rest now and get to kind of digest all this great information. And I liked what somebody said during the recap. Like, this was not about little changes. Mark said that one. It's not about tactics. It is about being aware of what is going on in marketing. Yeah. That whole virtual influencer thing just kind of blew our minds. Just being aware of what's going on and where you're going to fit into that was great. Yeah. If you want to learn more about Trona, and I know that you do, you can go to her site, services.eyelined.com, and learn more about how she can help you get found online.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks so
you.
much.
Thanks for being here. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.